Hello, Michael. This is my video reflection for you. Um, I felt really well about this second micro teaching compared to the first one. I think I went through it a little more confidently, maybe because it was in my content area and it was a lesson I had seen before. I had taken and adapted it a little bit just so it would focus more on the areas that you'd want to work on for an ELL classroom, such as encoding vocabulary, understanding synonyms, and things like that. So there was like a very heavy emphasis on synonyms, which is why it kind of ran long and didn't actually get to the presentation of the assignment. But that being said, I really loved that whole part where I was doing the synonym divulging from the rest of the class. What is a synonym for bravery? And we went through the whole list, and I actually really liked the parts where I went over the word like esprit de corps and camaraderie, using parts of the words themselves, covering up different parts, having focus on words within those phrases, and seeing if the class knew what they looked like. Did they look like anything you've seen before? So corps looked like corpse or corpus, which means like a body, and esprit looks like spirit. So it was an easy way to go through these phrases that most people would not be familiar with, in a way that would help them understand in that moment, and then really encode it, especially if they're taking notes, which in a normal class they usually would be, so that they would really be able to use them later on in this assignment. Same with camaraderie. You cover up the end, it looks like comrade. And your comrade is a buddy. So I think that part of the lesson went very well. That being said, the other list, just the medals themselves, reasons for them, I went a little long. I probably could have skipped the discussion of marksmanship and expeditionary medals, but I thought to include them just because it would give you the wider context. It's not just for bravery, this kind of abstract concept that people are rewarded for. They're very hard fact. You're good with the rifle, you get this medal. Types of awards. So just to give them a little taste of everything else that could receive a medal. I thought that it was important to go over this kind of a lesson. And I mentioned this in the full outline of the lesson, whether it's at the beginning or at any point during the year. If you start noticing some sentiments of displeasure with the military or anger at armed forces, things like that, you'd want to probably put it in there and say like, oh, not all of them are bad, not all soldiers are bad, there's great things that happen, one soldier for another, that type of thing, one soldier for their country. I chose to do it as a preface to the whole year, just to deter those thoughts from coming in the first place. But that being said, you don't really remember the lesson from the first day on your last day. So, it's up to whoever is teaching this lesson where they want to put it. It also depends on the rest of the actual content of the class. If you're not covering military, probably not entirely necessary. But I thought it would be important to include. I did think that my speech was a little weird. I was talking into the board quite a bit, so in the video you can't really hear very well unless you turn your volume all the way up and probably put on headphones. But I feel like enunciating a little better. I kind of do that thing where I start off at a certain, level of volume, and then as the sentence goes on, I get quieter and quieter and quieter. So focusing on stuff like that, making sure not to, mumble or trail off, is incredibly important, especially for a situation like this where I'm trying to learn from it. But even more so in a classroom where kids, if they can't hear what I'm saying, how are they going to learn about what I'm telling them? So, little things like that came up. The biggest issue I saw was that I, at different parts, said, like, this is the core of the lesson. This is at the heart of the lesson. This lesson, or this assignment, is about this. And saying that over and over again, students are going to say, what's this lesson about? Especially when I don't explain what the assignment is. There was a part where I said, I'll explain what the lesson of today is about, or something to that extent, when I was going over the list. and then I just ran into synonyms. I didn't explain why the synonyms were important, or why the metals were important, what the assignment was, until the very end, where after time was up, I explained. So, staying more focused on topic, maybe starting the lesson with an explicit, or maybe not starting, but within the first few minutes, so I can like really grasp that focus and say, all right, class, this is what it's going to be about, and everyone in the class is listening to the information I'm giving them about these synonyms, about these reasons for awards, about all these different ways we celebrate the soldiers, and know why, and being able to take this new knowledge from the last half of the class and being able to associate it with this assignment that they know they're going to do. Yeah, but that being said, I think I did pretty well with this. I had good content objectives related to American history. I also had great language objectives related to developing vocabulary and the skills of any ELL classroom. I don't think it was too hard of a lesson, especially because they just take a story and then just rewrite it. It's not like they'll learn something entirely new. And I thought it would be cool to have them, take that learning of these vocabulary words into their own hands and seeing all the different synonyms they could come up with, and then maybe the next class we go over all the different synonyms for a singular word. Like persistent would have like 10 different synonyms, stuff like that. Yeah, I think I did pretty well. I hope you did too. Thank you.